We're here with Allan Gotlieb, the former Canadian ambassador to the United States from 1981 to 1989, North American Deputy Chairman of the Trilateral Commission, and Rhodes Scholar, and currently Senior Advisor to the law firm Bennett Jones in Toronto, Canada. Thank you for giving us this time to speak with you today. In your time serving as a Canadian ambassador to the United States and subsequently helping forge the free trade agreement between Canada and the U.S., did you ever discuss the possibility of creating a North American Union that would be much like the existing European Union?
No, that was never discussed, no. I think this was seen when it was launched by the Mulroney government in 1985. It was seen as a trade agreement. In fact, there was great reluctance for political reasons, because the notion of free trade with the United States had never been that popular. But it was really, we spoke of it in terms of a trade agreement and as a comprehensive trade agreement. We didn't even talk of it at that time. The government did not want to talk of it at that time as a free trade agreement. It was seen as a comprehensive trade agreement with the United States, not with Mexico or any other partner. It was bilateral in concept. As time went on, we began to talk about it on both sides of the border as a free trade agreement. I think Mexico could become part of it, as indeed NAFTA was modeled after the Canada-US agreement. And as the Europeans, as you will know from the whole history of the European community, remarkable achievements they've had, it's all been incremental over the years at different speeds. NAFTA came into existence, and you had there for the first time the notion of trilateralism, or a North American continent. However, there were no discussions at that time, after NAFTA came into existence, about deepening it or widening it. And thus there really wasn't much talk in many circles, if any, about it becoming a North American community or a North American type union. The discussion here, and certainly I've been part of it and an advocate of it in a way, is that Canada, the US should seek to have a deeper type of integration with more predictable rules and greater security of access on both ways in a Canada-US context. Given the similarities of our two economies, of our two cultures and our countries, it seemed to me doable to pursue what I've always referred to as a kind of common economic space, a single economic space, where the border becomes irrelevant as for economic and trading purposes.
In 1996, you were at a Bilderberg meeting, and also there was Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin. During that time, I mean, that was just after the free trade agreement was signed, and then NAFTA had been signed by Jean Chrétien, and now Paul Martin signed in the Security Prosperity Partnership, which a lot of people view as kind of the next stage in trying to forge a common integrated system. Was the topic ever brought up there, or do you think that
I don't know if I was at that meeting. I've only been to a few of them, but the only prominent non-governmental sort of group that have really paid a good deal of attention to this has been the Council on Foreign Relations, and their task force did come out with an articulate, and Mr. Pastor was involved, vision, well argued. John Manley in Canada. It was a very distinguished group of Americans, Mexicans, and Canadians who argued for a North American community. Bilderberg and Trilateral are not really think tanks. They simply individuals who get together who are from business, the political world, the media, others, and discuss ideas. And they influence each other through that. We're not likely to see any great progress made towards this direction without some strong political leadership.
How has sovereignty changed? I've heard you reference sovereignty as being people reference sovereignty in a 19th century terms. How has it changed over the years?
Well, it's changed. Sovereignty is changed so greatly because of the phenomenon of globalization, where all issues become transnational. Whether it's trade, the environment, health, it's all transnational. And so sovereignty has to be understood in a very different way. And at the heart of sovereignty, you have the absolute requirement for deep international cooperation. See, the UN was the first great body that sacrificed, tossed sovereignty out the window. Not completely, I take that back, compromised the notion of sovereignty. The Charter states in Chapter 7 that the Security Council can impose its will on and create law, binding law, through its decisions on any members of the UN, that means the whole world community, if they find a threat to international peace. And thus they are a world governing body, and they bind the individual members. The problem with that extraordinary advance was that veto powers were given to certain countries, which means that sovereignty, that means that global power, that world governing power, is subject to veto by individual states, by only a handful. But that was the first great compromise of sovereignty. But we know now that human rights trumps that. I mean, people's concerns about human rights take priority to sovereignty, and that's what the project, the Responsibility to Protect, is all about. There are many issues, how you impose the will of the community, but sovereignty is a 19th century concept. It's important to know when you're talking about this subject that nobody here is talking about a political union. They're talking about economic and political arrangements which deepen integration and the relationship, but in which the countries, as in Europe itself, maintain their sovereignty. So there was very little, I think, in the way of discussion, even in the academy, about a North American community or deeper type of union until after 9/11, I think. And I think it was 9/11 that was the provocative agent that brought about a discussion of deepening the structures, or deepening the arrangements, or deepening the rules.
Now, when I'd spoken with Herbert Grubel, who had written a paper describing the new currency that he referred to as the Amero in his paper, when I'd spoken with him, he had said that great political change comes at a time of usually a big disaster, some sort of a catalyst that tends to bring a reason to come together. I mean, in the European Union, it was spurred because of 2 world wars that they didn't want to repeat. Do you think that idea of order out of chaos, or some sort of a catalyst might eventually come, might happen, and might be used as a means to try and forge a North American community?
Well, I certainly agree that it's when periods of great instability and chaos, you have the greatest opportunity for creating new institutions and moving in new directions. But I wouldn't feel that we have to experience the cataclysmic events to move in that direction in Canada. So does that mean that I think that we won't see any significant movement towards a broader North American approach, a deeper type of relationship? I think it will come, and I don't know. I don't know that it will require a cataclysm. It's when you have incremental damage, and it keeps increasing, you can wake up one morning and realize that something has to be done. So I am not looking to see any great progress here towards a deepening of our relationship on the economic and security side in the foreseeable future. But I personally think it will come. It will come.